Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little tutorial for this photo I took. This was in Texas, actually. I just thought it was cool patterns, and I got a cool angle on it. So I'm just going to go through and do a quick breakdown and just show you guys the process for how I would edit this photo. And yeah, so let me go ahead and start. So first, you can tell the crop is a little bit off. So I always start with the crop first just to make sure that everything is aligned and looks good before I start changing anything else. So we'd go to the crop tool here and just line it up till it looks about right. Yeah, I'd say about right there. Perfect. After the crop, I always start with my light settings first. So I just go down from the top down to the bottom and just play around with the sliders until, and just to get just to see what I like. So let's start with exposure. I think the exposure in this photo is actually pretty good, so I'm not going to mess with it. The contrast, this photo is already pretty contrasty, but we'll move the slider around and see if I like one or the other better. I think the contrast is actually, I'm going to leave that alone as well. A lot of times at the end of my edit, I come back to these sliders. So um, even if it's not perfect now, we'll come back and we'll mess around with it at the end just to make sure that it looks good. Okay, so we'll go to highlights. The highlights. Move back and forth here. I still like where the highlights are right now, so we're gonna leave that. And the shadows, I think I'm gonna bring a little bit more detail back in the shadows just so you can see some of this stuff over here, so that way it's not lost. Just a little bit. I don't want to do anything crazy. I'm probably gonna just do like 10. Okay, let's go to the whites, and I think we're gonna bring the whites up just to actually, no, I'm gonna leave the whites alone as well. Okay, we're gonna go to blacks. I think I like the blacks where they're at. So before and after, we didn't really change much, but that's just the beginning. So we're gonna go ahead and actually let's go ahead and go to optics. Probably should have done this first. I like to do my corrections first, and that you can see that there's a vignette on my lens when I take my photos. So this just adjusted it and it got rid of the vignette that the lens creates. So, and it brought a lot more detail back into all these shadows that were around the edges of the photo. But I kind of like that vignette. So we're gonna go up to not details. We're gonna go up to effects, and this is where we can play with the vignette and bring back more of that shadow around the edges. So first I like to go all the way. We're going to take the feather out just to kind of see what it's going to look like before we blur it and feather it. I think we're going to move it in a little bit just because that's how I like it. So it's all personal preference, but I think it would look best maybe like right around there. I don't want to change the roundness. I think the shape is fine. So let's bring the feather back to, I like to keep it around 75 for my vignette. But then we're going to bring this out and we're just going to slide it until we see something that we like. And I don't want to get too dark. I'm probably going to do something, maybe around -20. That's probably going to bring it right back to kind of how we had it, because I did think that looked pretty good. And yeah, you can see. So that this is now, this is the original. So actually, we still have a little bit more detail in the shadows than originally, which I think that looks good. Okay, so then we're gonna go to texture. We're just gonna go through the slides on the effects now. Um, so let's check the texture. I think I'm gonna bring up the texture a little bit so that we can get some of the more detail in the edges of the gate and in the walls over here. I don't like to move this up super high or bring it down super low. I usually keep it between like -20 and +20, so I try not to go too crazy on it. But I think we're gonna bring it to like 15, just to add a little bit clarity. Now I'm not gonna mess with the clarity. I think the clarity looks fine. Dehaze. We don't really have very much haze in the photo, so this is what that is for, is dehaze. But it does change the look of it, and I like it, so I'm gonna bring it to like 7, just a tiny bit. Okay, so we did optics, we did effects. We're gonna go back to light, and we're gonna go down to our curve over here, and I'm not gonna really mess with any of the colors. If you don't know what these do, you can change these and push the shadows, midtones, and highlights towards specific colors if you want to introduce colors into your photo. I'm going to leave the colors alone for right now, but I'm going to go ahead and go to this one here. And usually when I do curves, I like to add just 3 dots. So we have the information for the shadows, this is the information for the midtones, and the information for the highlights. And I go through and adjust those. And usually what I do is I add an S curve, and I'll show you what that looks like, just to add a little bit of a pop into the photo. So let's see what this looks like here. So we already, you don't want to move these too much. You can see how much, see, this is the benefit of shooting with RAW. So that's what I shot this photo in, is you get so much detail that you don't even know it's there until you bring up like these curves or like the exposure. So if you're not shooting in RAW, definitely shoot in RAW, because you have so much more flexibility on what you can do for your photos. But I'm gonna go put that dot back there, and I think the shadows are relatively fine for right now. I might bring it down like just a tiny bit. And then we're gonna go to the midtones, and you just gotta kind of move it back and forth. At least this is what I do. There's probably a more scientific way or better ways to do this, but I'm gonna add just a little bit of contrast. Basically, that's what we're doing into the photo, and we're gonna kind of bring up the light, make it pop just a little bit like that. So you can see it's a very slight S. You can make it more dramatic, but that's going to change the look of the photo a ton. And I don't want to do that. I think it's looking good for right now. This is a photo that I feel like doesn't need a ton of work. It's already looking good. I think I'm going to change. I'm going to mostly work on the colors in this photo, because I feel like the light looks pretty good. I don't have to change anything about the light too much. But, and then just to kind of fine tune, I go over to this little curve here, and this one you can just click wherever and adjust. So I might just add a tiny bit more. You can go kind of choose, depending on where you click, that's going to be what you're affecting. You can see it right down there. So down here's the shadows, darks, lights, highlights. So there's basically 4 different sections that it's kind of telling you that there is. So let's go to the lights. And you just gotta play around with it. I mean, it's your photo, so whatever looks best to you when you're doing this. I think that looks good right there. Okay. So now we're gonna get out of light, we're gonna go to color. And this is where you can really stylize the photo and make it kind of look however you want it to look. There's a lot of options you have here. So first is temperature. Change the temperature of your photo. You can make it more warm or more cold. For this photo, I think I'm gonna push it towards the warm side. I think it's already. I want to bring out some of this orange. I want this orange light that's kind of coming down. In the photo right now, it's kind of cooler. So I want to push it to the orange. I mean, you can go crazy and you can get, if that's the style that you like, then you can make it like that. And this doesn't look bad. I mean, you could go for, like, have you ever seen like the Book of Eli? I feel like this looks like how that movie is kind of styled or colored. I'm not gonna go too crazy with that. Maybe I am. I think I'm gonna actually warm up this photo quite a bit. I might bring it to like 7,000, and we can see the before and after here. And yeah, I think that looks a lot better. And so the colors we're gonna be playing with in this photo is basically just two different colors. You have blue and then you have orange, and those two are complementary colors. So I'm gonna really dig into that and have them complement each other, what they're already doing. That's why I wanted to bring out some of this orange on the wall here to complement the blue, because I feel like you couldn't really see that in the original. It looks, maybe a tiny bit, but not really. So I want to emphasize that orange from the light. Okay, and then tint. I'm not gonna really mess with the tint. I mean, I could, but I usually leave the tint alone. I kind of like a little more natural look, but actually, I might bring the tint towards more green, just a tiny bit. Maybe like bring it down to 10. I feel like I like that look. And vibrance. So, vibrance, when you move the slider, you're really affecting the colors in the photo that aren't very saturated already. So you're kind of adding color to the parts of the photo that don't have any color or aren't saturated. And then the saturation is kind of just adding more color to the parts of the photo that already have color. So I'm just gonna play around with it. I'm gonna bring that to like 15, and maybe bring this one up to like 12 maybe. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so far I think that's looking pretty good. And so we're gonna go down to the color mixer. That's next here. And like I said, there's only really two colors in this photo. You have blue and you have orange. I don't really see any other ones, but you can go to the sliders. The easiest way to see if there's any other colors is moving the luminance, because our eyes detect light differences way better than color differences. So when you move this, you're gonna be able to see where those colors are and see what you're affecting. So there's not really any red, so we don't have to worry about that. Like I said, there's a lot of orange. So if I move this, you can see it's changing all the orange in the photo. Yellow, there's probably quite a bit of yellow mixed in with the orange. Green, no green. Cyan, I don't think there's any cyan. Yep. Blue, you can see how it changes the blue in here. Purple, and what color is that? We got purple and what is that? Magenta? Yeah. Okay, so as you can see in this photo, we have orange, yellow, and we have blue. So we don't have to worry about any of the other colors. For the orange, I think for the hue, I think it's already, the hue's kind of nice. I might bring it a little bit more towards the orange side, or sorry, the red side, the red pink. Just a little bit. I think it's a little bit too yellow, and I would prefer it to be a little bit more orange. So I'm gonna bring it down to -15. Saturation, I think I'm gonna add a little bit more orange in here. Not a ton. Maybe I'll do like 10. And the luminance, I think I'm gonna bring the luminance down just so you could, so the orange kind of stands out a little bit more. I'll do like -20. And let's see where we're at so far. That's before, that's after. So I think we're in a pretty good spot right now. It's looking good. Okay, we're gonna go to yellow, and there's quite a bit of yellow in here. There's probably actually more yellow than orange, but I am gonna push the yellow more towards orange again to really complement the blue, because like I said, orange and blue are complementary colors. So we're gonna push the yellow into the orange, and I think I'm gonna do probably like -17 on that. And saturation, we already saturated, but I might add a tiny bit more, like 7. And maybe I'm gonna darken it a tiny bit, like just a little bit, like 3. So we can see what we're looking at here. Looks good. The orange is looking good. Kind of looks like it's like sunset out and the light is shining on right here on the wall right there. So we're gonna go to blue now, our last color. And I usually prefer like a more cyan or greenish blue, push towards the greens. Just a little bit though, so I'm gonna bring it to like right there. I think -20 looks good. And then we're gonna go ahead and let's see, we're gonna check the saturation. I think I'm gonna saturate the blue a little bit more so it pops. Maybe something like, not a ton. Maybe I'll do like 15. I think that looks good. And luminance, I'm gonna bring up the blue. I don't like these darker blues for my sky. You can see it over here. I don't know, I just don't think that looks great. I think the sky, I think a more normal color for the sky is this lighter blue, and I think it looks a lot better too. So we're gonna bring up the blue and lighten it up. I think quite a bit too. We're gonna do like 35 on that. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So you can see before, it's pretty bland. There's not really any colors, and we just added all these colors here. And they're complementing each other a lot better now. I might even change the hue a little bit more. Maybe like 25. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay. And there are other color options in here that you can play with. The color pointer, if you want to select a specific color and change it. Oh, here's a good example like that. It'll show you. I'm not really looking to do that in this specific photo. You can also color grade and add color to the photo in the shadows, midtones, and highlights. I don't think I might play around with it a little bit and just to see what it looks like. But I don't really. I think the black, the shadows look good as like pure black, and I don't want to really introduce any colors into the black right now. Midtones. You just gotta play around with it. Just like all the other sliders. We might actually introduce some color just to add some more pop into the photo. I think I'm gonna leave the shadows alone because I don't want to introduce any colors into the shadows. Let's play with the highlights here. And I think the highlights we're gonna do, the highlights are already this orange color, and probably the sky too. But I think I'm gonna push some more color into the highlights just to kind of emphasize kind of that like it's like sun, like the sun's going down and a sunset is happening. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and that looks good to me. But that's a lot, way too much. We're gonna change the saturation to like 30, and the midtones. I think I might leave the midtones alone. So if you press this little eye right here, you can see the before and after. And it just warmed the photo up a little bit more. And I think it looks better. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so we're basically done. Let's check the before and after. There's before, there's after. Before, after. And I think that looks good. Okay, so that's it for this photo. This is a pretty basic photo. There's not really a lot going on, so there's not a ton that we can really change. I mean, we could change a lot, but I think it already looked good, kind of how we got it when I took the photo. So we're gonna leave it as that. So thanks for watching. I'm gonna be posting more photo editing videos. So if you guys are interested in that, then go ahead and follow me. And yeah, thank you so much.